What up, everyone? We're in Portland, Oregon with the Chosen Family team and the Vint boys. They flew in to see us. We're going to drink some wines, have a conversation, and tell you why you should invest in their platform, drink our wines, and follow our journey. We appreciate you for tuning in.
Our podcast, we really dove into the idea of accessibility in the wine world, what you guys are trying to do to make wine more understandable and approachable and open to everyone. From the Vint side, we're trying to do the same thing from a different angle, basically making the best wines in the world and understanding wine in general more accessible. So let's kind of just dive right into like where we've been starting today with, we actually started with one of your guys' Chosen Family Chardonnays, and we've been kind of working through the range here. Do you guys want to start about like what was the impetus of this and why you made this price point, and then we can talk about your other wine that's maybe a little different.
I'll start and then I'll let Chan get into it. I mean, at Chosen Family, we wanted to make wines that we were proud of, that we could share with our favorite people so they could share with their favorite people. And I think when you're introducing people to wine or sharing wine with someone that's an expert, there's such a range of quality, variety, and price point that I think from a brand standpoint, we learned really quick. As much as we love the finest wines in the world, we also love wines that we can drink every day and that our friends don't feel like they're getting put out of their house to try the products we're creating. So I think from a Chosen Family standpoint, we wanted to cover the wide swath of creating a brand within a brand. There's the brand that we make high-end collaboration wines, like 100 cases, allotment-driven, hard to find, terroir-driven, like site-specific wines that are made by a winemaker, certain barrel select, and they are incredible, right? But within that, we also have access to great winemakers and great vineyards so that we could try to source the best grapes for the money to create a product that we could share with people and find a price point that could work for everyone. So now, it's funny saying that because a $25, $30 wine can still be really expensive for someone, but I still think that that level of quality, you want people to have aha moments, right? We want to turn people on to wine, so we're trying to find wines that we can put our name on, regardless of price, that we're proud of, so that you can be proud of sharing it, right? And so that Chardonnay that you have right there is a Willamette Valley blend from the Chehalem Mountain Ridge and Dundee Hills. I mean, that has a $32 price point on it right now. I honestly, this is sounding egotistical because I own part of Chosen Family, but I think that's the best $32 Chardonnay in the new world. Now, that's just my opinion. I also know where those grapes came from and how much we've taken margin hits to share that. But that's the job. We want to make great wines across the board, but we also need to have categories of wine that can be shared with everyone.
That makes sense. So when you guys are trying to introduce people who haven't drank wine really at all, and maybe they've had some crappy wine here or there, how do you go about it? Do you share something like this right off the bat, or when you're trying to brand new people into wine?
Well, I think everyone's journey starts somewhere, right? And so if I start you out with DRC, you're gonna have a skewed view of what wine from your area should taste like. I think for me, I fell in love in Oregon, and I've started out at the lower end and then kind of worked my way. And even now I go, I love this region because this is just what I like. It could be $20, it could be $100. I just like this. And what I've done, and we were talking about it before we got on air, is I have the unique opportunity and relationships to go to different winemakers and different vineyards and showcase these things. So when family comes over, I put out 8 to 10 different Chardonnays like I did on Easter. Now, not everyone has that opportunity, but for me, to be able to bless people, to be able to educate people, to be able to allow people to say, I like this. Well, why do I like this? Where is this from? I could tell these stories. And I think us as Chosen Family, I'd be doing a disservice asking somebody to spend their hard-earned money on our products that we are putting out if we have not done the research, and if we are not trying to put the best product out there, not something that's overly complicated, something that is true and authentic, and something that we drink in my own house, and something that you can say, oh, and Jake just mentioned it, that aha moment. And if we can get you to say, so many people go, well, I don't like white wine. And I'm like, well, have you tried it? Well, sort of. And I go, just try this. Oh my God, it's delicious. What is this? Well, this is Oregon Chardonnay. Welcome to acidity and freshness. And well, how much is this? $80, $100? This is $32. You can get it. Like, this is good for you. And you start there and you go, you know what? I may need something more complex. And then you work your way up. But the story has to start with trust, and it has to start with something that you're okay with going, it's just not my favorite. For $30, I think you could say it's just not my favorite.
$20 to $40 is such an important kind of stepping stone, right?
Yeah.
When people are getting into it, like, it has to be good
Yeah.
at $30 because, like, someone steps from 15 to 30, like, and it's a pretty big jump. Like,
Yeah.
you're doubling, right? From supermarket, maybe bottom shelf
Totally.
prices up to 30. That has to, the quality has to be there because, like, $30 price range is the hook.
Right.
And then it's, you know, and it doesn't always scale. Quality doesn't always scale with price, but it's a really important $20 to $40 price
I
range.
think that is a responsibility of the
Yeah.
of the company. And I think for us, that is, we have this conversation a lot. But I think when you work with winemakers, when you have winemakers on your, you know, as owners and partners in this group at Chosen, we can't do anything less. And I tell people as a ex-NBA player, there's more pressure on me to put out something better than most other people, right? Because somebody, Joe Schmo, could put out a wine and you'd be like, oh, let me try this. You put out mine, you're like, oh, Cheney's just going for
Celebrity
a money grab.
wine, celebrity
right.
wine.
This
They
is the
pigeonhole
opposite
you
of
as
that.
dog shit out the gate.
Right.
You're an athlete. You don't know what you're talking about. This wine's going to be bad.
Well, guess what? I don't know everything, but he's in the wine industry. Our other person is in the wine industry, and we are fans of this industry and fans of wine.
Yeah. I think that as business, like, it's like you don't want to give away all the tricks of the trade of the industry, right? And as you learn the industry, I think we are in the information age. So at Chosen Family, we want to share the journey and educate people on why we're making the decisions we're making, why we're working with the people we're working with, and why we're promoting the things that we find interesting or the people we think are doing an amazing job. But to your point, like that clicking moment at $30, $25, it's hard to find great wine at $12, right? So as you're scaling, how do you maintain quality control? How do you make sure that your business can make money, but you're still sourcing good enough grapes to try to find that balance, right? And I think that you can trick people at a certain price point because a lot of consumers, especially with white wine or rosé, get it cold and chug it, right? Red wine, you got to store it correctly. Hopefully there's something there that kind of gives you, oh, let me smell this, let me taste this. But I think for us, we're trying to hit all those markers. To Chan's point, just because I have friends and business partners from Channing and Kevin Love and now and Chase Renton and some other buddies of ours going like, we have platforms, we can tell people about wine, but we're going to take it more serious that we all love wine. So if we're going to love wine, we're not in this just to pimp product. Like we literally are doing the R&D. We're site specific on our collaborations. We drink a lot of wines, we discuss it. And we also are good friends. So like to Chan's point earlier, like you can go over to his house on Easter or whatever day of the week actually, and he's going to share stuff. He would be doing, we did this together before we were ever in this industry, right? Like our nature, if you go to dinner with us, order everything on the menu, let's try it, let's talk about it, let's share it. So now wine is just an extension of that. And then thankfully we have our own product now and we're proud of our product because we're doing the work to give you what we believe in is the right thing. Farmed responsibly, made by great winemakers, making great decisions in the winery so that we can create products at price points that we're proud of, that we think anyone and everyone that's following our journey has the ability to acquire, right? And from there, if you like a $25 Willamette Valley Pinot Noir Chardonnay, you might go, oh shit, I'm going on a date on Friday night. They have a $50 joint? They have a $70 wine? Let me try that for a special occasion. Oh, that's from a Longolo estate? Oh, that's from a Beaufrere? So now you're kind of learning, right? Now you might even learn about an AVA. You might learn about a vintage. So we don't need to beat you over the head with it, but if you listen and you learn and you follow, I think some of these things will naturally come to you. It didn't come to me. We and him weren't out the gate sommeliers or overly influenced by education of wine. We just loved it. So now when you love it and you start drinking it, those things come naturally to you, right? Then if you have winemaker friends, that's going to come even more natural to you. So we're just head first into this thing. But the genesis of all of it is we just want to share stuff that we love, and we want to share it with people that we enjoy, and then we want to help tell that story, right?
Yeah. And I think that makes a lot of sense in the way that, like, there is a certain, to your point where you were saying the $12 wines earlier, it's very tough to make a quality wine in a proper way at that low price point and actually get it out to the masses.
25 and above, maybe?
25, yeah.
22
so,
and
so
above.
like, yeah, that's 20.
Glass costs $10.
Exactly. So
Yeah, cork labels.
Cork,
like
glass,
yeah.
label,
Exactly.
shipping.
So-
I mean, guys, what are we doing here? Unless you make a 5 million of the same thing. What,
yeah,
it's
and
not
there-
even great.
it's the scale.
You
So
just
that's
go
why I
get
think,
some
like,
Kool-Aid,
this
put a little
wine-
sugar and lemon in there.
as something for somebody, it could be their special occasion wine, but they know they're going to get this great wine.
Absolutely.
And if they do want to like go up a notch, and number one, it's easy to understand. It's Chardonnay, it's Willamette, you can understand from Chosen. Then you guys have your next tier here, which again, the quality leap makes sense because there's different work. I assume it's more stuff in the barrel, more time in the barrel, more work in the vineyards. So there's a reason why this has a different price point. Whereas when you start moving to something like this guy, which is, the most intimidating wine of all, because Burgundy is so complex and it's really nuanced. I think this wine is only expensive above a certain point, not because of the raw materials that are in it. It's because of the quantity where it's made, what the name it's gone over the years, and also the demand globally. Like, if you just took out the juice alone, you would be able to, there's only a certain point to which, juice itself can be so much better than everywhere else. I mean, sure, there's terroir, sure, there's all these other things, but subjectively, that can come into account. But what's interesting to me is we can just talk broad strokes pricing here. You're saying this is in the 30s. What is that?
60s.
That's in the 60s, and this is like high hundreds, low thousands, depending on, what it is.
Yeah.
Depending on what the vintage is.
Thank you for sharing.
I actually can't remember what we purchased this one at, but basically what to me is interesting is when you go from here to here, there is a tangible jump is what I want to get across in terms of what you guys were doing in terms of selection, or maybe it's different time in barrel. There are costs that lead up to that. You guys aren't tacking on different layers just to make it more expensive. Whereas this, the reason this is so expensive is because of global demand, years of reputation building, and all these other things.
Brand recognition.
Yeah, it's not just brand recognition, but it's not just what's in the bottle. Whereas it's interesting when you go up from the 20 to 30, you're actually getting a tangible increase in quality. 30 to 50, you're getting a tangible increase in something in the winery. It doesn't always have to be quality. When you get above the wines that we're working with at Vint, which is really interesting, is we're giving access and this know-how to wines that nobody else can really access on a regular basis. And that's why when you go through the investment part of things, some wines do appreciate over time because everybody's still searching for these limited quantities. So when we talk about accessibility that way, we're trying to give people the knowledge of the why these are so expensive and why they are valued over time. But we also want people to understand what you can drink on a regular basis to really improve your wine drinking experience.
I think it's important. You guys are doing something unique. You're in a unique space, but I think it's important for this next generation of wine consumers that we're trying to talk to on the product level to understand that wine can be an investment as well, right? And I think the more you learn about it, the more you watch something age. This is liquid art. This is liquid gold. Like, there's so much amazing storytelling, but they also can be, to your point, it's hard. You should blind taste yourself if you're lucky enough to acquire a lot of expensive wines. And some absolutely hit it out of the park and some don't, but that's the beauty and mysticism of wine. But there's a reason people put their hearts and soul in this, and I think if you have the chance to go visit places, maybe even do a harvest somewhere, there's something that comes with kind of how these things are created. And for you guys to be creating a platform, a portfolio, a business around building out stocks and investment opportunities within fine wine is really cool. And then I like that you're sitting here with us, right? Like, we're kind of on the opposite side of that in the new world, trying to make great wines, but also accessible wines. So where do we fit? But where we fit is, I think, we're the next generation of people leading the wine industry into the future in different ways. So there's no reason that we shouldn't be alongside each other, helping each other's narratives push forward and sharing these things that we love, right?
And the $30 to $50 price point is where we actually both can reach these people, where it's before the best wines in the world were, quote unquote, hundreds of dollars and inaccessible to anyone in investing or just drinking.
Well, Channing played in the NBA. Everyone assumes that everyone in the NBA has all this money and they can buy whatever the fuck they want whenever they want, right? Channing's smart enough to go, well, I like wine. I'm not going to drink a $1,000 glass of wine every night of my life.
On a Tuesday.
He doesn't even want to do that most of the time because he knows that sometimes it's overblown. But if you do enough research, he might go, oh shit, that's from that vineyard in that place that I've heard about, and that's a vintage I haven't seen before. Let me try that. Oh, okay, I did that, but then I also went down the street and met the guy that makes it for $50, and I love his day-to-day drinker, right? So I think the journey is in the research and development. It's in the trust factor with brands and opportunities, but I think that's the thing about wine. There's no perfect storm. There's no exact answer, but we're all trying to live our own journey within it and, like, again, share this thing that is wine.
And you never know when the $40 bottle is someone's celebratory wine.
It is a lot of times.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
sure. But
we
the
shouldn't make
more
fun of
you
that.
know,
Exactly.
the more you realize, okay, Rothschilds, 83, you're going to get what you expect for the most part because of the consistent quality of that. Somebody finds you a $20 to $40, whether that's in New Zealand, Australia, South America, Chile, you find that bottle, that is how do I get 100 of
More of
these?
that, yeah.
More of that. But that's like, it's the opposite. But you have to know what you're looking for, but you don't know what you're looking for unless you
And
go
willing to
through
get
the
outside your
journey.
box. Yeah, you
But
got
like, okay, so what I try to explain to people is why something is more expensive sometimes is the consistent greatness. And so New World people, and somebody put
That's why
this
LeBron
in,
gets paid a lot. He gets it
you
done
look
year
at,
after
you,
year
you
after
look
year
at
after year.
cards, right? Like trading cards, or you look at, NFTs. Like, what is consistent greatness? What is the highest paid card ever, right? It's 5.2 million. It's a LeBron card. Why? You have 20 years of greatness. So he has a following. He has people that are willing to pay that price for that quality, regardless of year. It may be a moment in time, but they're still willing to pay that. But for me, if you're willing to enjoy his time, you can start anywhere. If you're like, I like that, but let me follow Jason Tatum early on, which is for me like wine. Like, I'm really into new age wines. I'm very much West Coast guy. So for me, Napa Cab, Sonoma Coast, Oregon Pinot, Walla Walla, which would make great stuff. I want to be the guy that goes, man, I got the 2020 and it's 2050 and I'm 70 years old handing this to my kids like, yeah, your daddy knew back in the day. I knew that this guy does this, and they're looking at myself like it's crazy. Like, how did you know? They have quality.
Well, not only are you going to know about it and have some of it in your cellar, but you're actually going to know the winemakers, have been there, maybe even been there when they blended some of it, maybe even had some of it under your own label. Like, we're getting that opportunity to kind of build this thing into the future from places that we believe in are the future of wine on the West Coast and in the New World, but also we're going to make some wine in Italy. We're going to maybe get to France one day. We're trying to expand our consumers' opportunity by us growing our brand, but you also got to be smart enough to make those moves when they make sense. But I want to tell them your Petrus story. So I've never been to Petrus. I actually don't know if I've ever even had a sip of Petrus, and I've been lucky to drink some great wines. One of the most expensive wines in the world. They make a bit of it, but it's not easy to find because of how expensive it is. And it's actually Merlot, which is a varietal every once in a while that gets slapped around in the media because of someone that looks like me. But Chan went there, and he tell the story because I think I love how you reacted when you were there, what the winemaker said to you, and then what you think of drinking some of the finest wines in the world on site.
So I'm going to fast forward a lot of the details. We went to Bordeaux. We did a 2-week tour of France, and I was into wine. I wasn't like hardcore into wine, but Bordeaux changed me. France changed me, as it should. And I just fell in love. Like, how do I get this? So our driver is actually, his name is Tiger. He was from America, but he, had dual citizenship. It was like, dude, I love you on the calves and blah, blah. So we started talking. And he goes, I've changed your wine tasting for tomorrow. And I'm like, all right, I trust you, right? Because I know Bordeaux. I know a little bit, but I don't know. You live here. Yeah, I don't know everything. So for me, if you feel strongly enough where you're going to change my trip, I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I know nothing about him. We go to one place. I forgot the name of it, but I ordered a bunch of cases and ended up drinking them too soon. But that's fine. On purpose. It was COVID. It was tough. It was tough to get out the house.
You live and learn.
And absolutely was blown away there. It's original house, chateau, beautiful. And then we pull up to Petrus. And I look around at my wife and friends, and I'm like, Petrus. I'm like, no. I'm like, maybe it's, a subsidiary of it or whatever that is.
Petrus.
Right, exactly. So we pull up, and he's like, this was my gift. You guys have been awesome. Here you go. And the winemaker is going to show you around. So we look. If you've ever been to Petrus, it's literally a little mound of blue clay soil. And he comes out, and he looks like a regular winemaker, nothing fancy. And he just shows us how little the human touch is from the grape to the bottle and how long they keep it down there. And we go through this story, and we finally get to the place where you get to drink the wine, and it is piping hot. And I'm a big guy, and so I did the math. Thirsty. So I did the math of how much a glass, just a little teens is like.
And the weather outside was piping hot, not the wine.
No. The wine was not piping hot. The weather outside was piping hot. So I'm sweating. I'm like, a little water, and I go whoop and just throw it back. And he comes up and gives me a hug. And I'm like, what happened? He goes, thank you. Somebody who finally drinks it and enjoys it and goes and pours me another.
Oh, wow.
And so I was just like, this is amazing. And he goes, you would be shocked how many people come in here with this pretentious attitude, and they drink and they'll spit out and they're like, put 15 cases in my car. And he's just like, that's not why you get into wine. You get into wine for people to enjoy it, regardless of the price.
He's the holy grail, but he's like, drink my wine.
Yeah, drink it.
You can do it however you want, but don't be afraid to have a sip. Or maybe a Channing said, a glass. You know what I mean? Like, you're
two
allowed
glasses.
Yeah.
And
you're
it
allowed
was
to enjoy
so
this
delicious.
thing.
Oh, it was so like, you were like,
We
and
gotta
then
drink
you
some
realize
together.
it's not even going to get put out for another 20 years.
Would you go back if we go over there?
Without a doubt. It would be the first place I go. I just think now I know what I'm drinking, and now I understand the process. I think realizing the clay doesn't absorb all the water. And he told me a story how they had to, so in Bordeaux, you're not allowed to like irrigate or do any of that.
Dry farming. That's
The strictest.
It's what we do here too.
rules, right? They had to hire a team of helicopters to fly over to move the water off the hill.
Ooh.
So imagine so they have to like, it's pure of like how their rules are, what it is. If it is that year or it isn't, there's no in between. It is or it isn't. And you respect that. And you're like, it's its purest form. And we're trying to do that here, not only in Oregon, but at Chosen. And that's the difference. It's like this is one little plot of land, 20 acres. That is a culmination of the year, right? 4 out of the 20. So our Chosen, which is 30, is a culmination of different vineyards from around a site or an AVA, from different AVAs. So and then that is just, if people realize how small Burgundy was, it would just be like, holy crap.
I don't know about you guys, but this is drinking great, but this is drinking pretty good too.
Yeah.
Seeing our little Pinot Noir, our little Chardonnay, site-specific Chardonnay next to one of maybe the most famous white Bergs in the world, and everyone can get into vintages and how old it is and all these things. Both great wines, but it's fun, even as someone that loves this wine, to see it in this category. And shit, this is $60.
Yeah, and it's only in 2022, and it's already developed some complexity in the
Yeah.
acid. But going back to the Petrus, I was actually lucky enough to go to the on-promoter tastings last week to try to see what the 2021 vintage is going to be like. Turns out it was a weird year. Some frost at the beginning, rain. But I drove by Petrus, and it's cool because like you're right, like it's this mound of like clay, and when it gets wet, and basically what happens is that the clay expands,
Yeah.
and when that's what happened, it doesn't let any more water in. It gets to
Yeah.
the point where it's like the soil's literally like, nah, I'm
Sponge
good.
is full.
But
Yeah.
and then the people have always said like that clay is like what makes the terroir sponge is like the smartest clay ever, because like it's just enough. On like the dry years, it has just the right amount of water. On the wet years, it's like, nah, we don't need any more water. And then it's amazing how small, you're right, because all these other vineyards are trying to get up on that little clay. Like
It is literally a mound, and you're like, $1 billion,
yeah,
500 million, and then you have like LVMH over there.
right.
And you're just like, what? But everything wants to be this little mound. It looks so like unimposing.
Yeah, and yet
It's
people
just
make
ridiculous.
pilgrimages there.
Wow.
But
Like,
that's the one thing about wine that trips you out as you get to know it. Like, there can be, if we're sitting on a vineyard right now and your neighbor's down the hill 30 feet and like 30 yards that way, the terroir can be totally different. Now, they can have some of the same soil elements, these things, but like Burgundy's big on like, this is Grand Cru versus this is First Cru versus this is Village. Oregon Willamette Valley, there's some sites I know of where this one's absolutely amazing. So it's like Mother Nature. Who bought that plot of land and how they farmed it? Obviously, there's going to be some things that impact that decision making and what the final product is. But sometimes you just get lucky in this game. Sometimes just certain mounds of dirt make way better wines than other places. And if you're lucky enough to tend to those and not F them up and not do too much, you get this magical thing.
Less is so much more
In wine,
In
it's
wine. It's
absolutely.
amazing. But nerding out on this is amazing. So a buddy of mine, I gave him a Chateauneuf du Pape, and he had never had it before. And he was like, what is this? He had the aha moment. And he is the type of person to put his head down and read every book about wine, why he likes it, where it comes from. He's read 15 books. He showed me the case of books about wine over the last 6 months that he's read. And now he specifically drinks in Northern Rhone Valley. Like, he will go across the city and find the best one, which year, from what producer. But like, that makes me feel great that I got him something. And you know, Northern Rhone ain't crazy. It's very affordable for what it is. And just like having those aha
Well,
moments.
compared to Bordeaux, for
The
sure.
top wines, yeah, you can.
Right, exactly. You're just like, oh.
Well, that's my favorite part about, speaking of the Northern Rhone, like Hermitage. I was just chatting with guys last week in Bordeaux, and they were like, yeah, you can get like the top Hermitage in the world are like $400. I mean, maybe a little bit more, but like it can be, and it's like,
Oh, I had one. You talking about Shav?
Yeah, they're like, yeah, Shav, are you guys?
He just had one the other day.
He's
so
like unbeatable.
good, so perfect.
That's Syrah at its highest level, basically.
It's so
100%.
good. It is like the best.
So this is a collaboration that we at Chosen Family did with the boys at Salty Goats, Phil and Joe. They are Cabernet makers by day at Nickel and Nickel. Have a bunch of side project to do as well, but we've gotten to know them, and they called us and said, you guys got to come try some of the Pinot Noir we're getting from the Sonoma coast. At the end of the day, they drink a lot of Pinot Noir. And me and Channing, and they said, we know you're in Oregon. We know you guys have quality Pinot Noir up there, but you should come try our wines that we're making. Their first vintage is actually these wines. So we snuck into their cellar, got to pick out a few of our favorite barrels and make about 100 cases, 120 cases of Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir from Fort Ross Seaview under the Salty Goats label with Chosen Family. And again, we're Oregon boys. It's where we live. We have a lot of friends that make wine here and make world-class wine. This wine is awesome. And people have been loving it, and I think people have gone like, I don't want to drink a California Pinot Noir from Chosen Family. Aren't you guys supposed to be from Oregon? The whole point of Chosen Family is for us to widen our horizons, try wines from everywhere, make wines from everywhere if we deem them something we want to share. And, this wine is killer. Absolutely killer.
It's amazing.
Can you guys reinforce? And I agree. I'm drinking that right now. We've mixed it up kind of. So 2 of us have Burgundy, 2 of us have the.
He tried to trick us.
It wasn't really a trick. It was just more. Can we see what
If
we're
this,
working
if
with?
this is Burgundy, I have no idea about wine. I know nothing about wine.
That is Burgundy.
This is.
Yeah.
That is.
No, our 2 are the Sonoma. You guys were the.
I know nothing about wine.
I mean,
You thought you were drinking Sonoma Coast? That is fucking awesome.
Oh, maybe that's a good sign.
I didn't think I was. I didn't know.
Yeah, that's true. But so there is a ton of elegance in here. To your guys' point, that's not something you typically see on the Sonoma Coast. Is it because they're closer to the? It's not you don't typically see, but let's say Russian rivers can get pretty big.
Big, hot. This is a cooler site, closer to the Pacific Ocean. I mean, if you hear them talk about it, they're surfers. They love the coast. This site is beautiful to them. They were lucky to get fruit from there. They're happy to work with fruit from there. And then the elegant and restraint from these wines caught us off guard from the minute we've had it. And then the minute we put it in a bottle and gotten to try it, we were both like, yo, dude, this wine is incredible. I made them raise their prices actually immediately. They were trying to like $55. I'm like, no, this is $75 from us. I think they might sell it right around that price. They sold out in a day or 2. They released like 100 or 200 cases, went like this. But it's a cult classic little Sonoma Coast Pinot, and I think that brand's going to grow over time. We just literally muscled our friends into giving us some, and I'm fucking happy to have it.
When you say you insisted they raise their prices, it's not because they're trying to be greedy. It's like the effort that goes into making these small plot Pinot, and Pinot is such a tricky grape.
Yeah, I don't like talking about money and about wine all the time. What I mean by that is they were launching a brand,
right,
and then they make Napa Cab at these extraordinary numbers, and they thought because they're known for one thing that they had to tend to an audience in a different way. And what I was saying as their friend and as someone that does this as a business is the wine in that bottle is
of the quality.
Oh my God. And so you're underserving where you're trying to go by you're almost like underplaying the quality where you, as a consumer-based audience, they'll go, oh, this is a $60 Pinot Noir. It's like, no, this is close to a $100 Pinot Noir. If you're going to sell it at $65, $75, $80, that's very nice of you. But make sure you start your journey at the right place. And that's all I was saying. Just as a friend, I'm going like, no, these wines are incredible, and we're going to sell them for even more because we're never going to sell it for less than what you make it for.
So where the quality is even at. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That this is one of those examples where the quality is matching the price rather than just some arbitrary price increase.
I don't think I've had one person have this wine and go, I don't like it. And I think most people are going like, what is this? And Sonoma Coast makes this quality. Well, and don't make I'm sure Sonoma Coast has the best Pinots in the world, but I don't drink that many of them, and we're not that familiar with them. So it's been really fun for us to learn this story and help try to tell this story. And I have just been, my mind has been blown. This is a 2020, like Pinot Noir from the Sonoma Coast of California. And you're drinking it next to one of the best Burgundies in the world per se. This shit holds its weight. It's a beautiful wine.
Yeah. I think for me, being expanded and realizing like, holy crap, why do I like this? Let me try something a little more inland. That ain't my jam. Let me try another one. Fort Ross Seaview, I think it's only like 4 square miles.
It's small.
It's small. So like for them to even get that plot of land, and then when you have an opportunity to taste other people's wine that have made it, you realize, wow, that like somebody who's been there 5 years, 10 years, and then you taste this. This is their first year. That gap is not that far. And for them, it's only going to get better because they're going to realize what they're going to get from the land each year, how they can tend to it, how they can
Yeah, they're just getting
maneuver it
started.
to give the best picture, right? And Jake mentioned that this is a piece of art. It's liquid art, and I think if you realize some of the things that you like, the salinity, the people use these simple words like smooth, or it's easy drinking. When you refreshing, right? You're just like, oh, but it's 2 miles away from the ocean. You're like, I get it. I get it. And that's what makes me excited. It's like, I get what they were trying to do, and they gave you the truest expression of what happened that year. And I will always buy your wine, $20 to $200, if you give me the exact expression of what happens without trying to Frankenstein it up each year for what you think. Do what is correct to the land and what happened that year, whether it's a warm year, a cold year, a frosty year, a rainy
Let's tell
year.
that
Like
story.
I tell
Let's
that
be
story.
authentic to the place.
Yeah, it's
time and
all
place.
about the story.
So a quick PSA real quick, whether you use this or not. I think a lot of us when we get into wine, especially maybe dudes that drink beer and I don't want to get into wine and then I want to drink a big wine because Pinot Noir is so soft and flat. Pinot Noir is the greatest varietal in the world. It has the biggest swath of potential and experience you're going to have in a wine. And anywhere you go, from Burgundy to California to Santa Barbara, Sonoma, Oregon, New Zealand, depending on the year and where it's grown, what I just tried in a glass from the Sonoma Coast, what we're going to try from Burgundy, what we had from Oregon before, the quality of grape and the amount of variety you can have in that grape, Pinot Noir, is unmatched in the wine industry. So Napa Cab's great, but it's like in a box like this. Keep the list going, and I'm not here to talk shit. I'm just saying, if you're at home and you're learning about wine, don't be scared of Pinot Noir, and don't be scared to spend $30 to $50 on some Pinot Noir, because I guarantee you, the more you learn about it, the more you realize it might be the best grape in the world.
And I think, to your point, it's all about where it's grown. It's such a unique varietal that really shows where it's from and the years so well. So if you,
But it's not all just here. It can be big, it can be soft, it can be pretty.
And so many people I know have had them though, and then they've been like, oh, I don't like a Pinot Noir. But maybe they've had like a $15 one or $10 one that has what's called mega purple. It's basically like grape concentrate that makes it look.
It's a beverage more than a wine.
And not only that, but it makes it look like purple. Like Pinot Noir is, at its core, like a cherry, like red thing. So if you ever drink a Pinot Noir that's like almost deep purple, it's like there's something wrong with it. That's not.
Yeah.
And I think me and Channing literally.
You're drinking a Kool-Aid.
Me and Channing, I don't know that we say we have to fight this fight, but like, we live in Oregon and we live with our business partners are Pinot Noir makers and Chardonnay makers, but we come from a culture of, and the NBA especially, like, you get a wine list, you're buying the most expensive bottle a lot of times, and a lot of times that's either Bordeaux or Napa Cab, right? And they're big, and they're juicy, and they're these things. Nothing wrong with them, but if that's all you know, we are constantly going, yo, guys, you got to try some of these other wines. And then what's beautiful a lot of times with a great meal is you're going to start with a little champagne. You're going to get into a little white Berg. Then you're going to have an Oregon Pinot. Then you can have a Cab at the end of the night with your steak. Like, let's learn why these things complement, what they complement, and that there's a wide variety of wines that we should all be trying and drinking. And chosen, that's like, people go like, when you build a business, just focus on one thing and be great at it. We threw that to the fucking wind. We're going to make as many different, incredible wines as possible because we think the wine industry is going there. And if you build enough trust and have access enough to the right people, you can make great bubbles, you can make great Barolo and everything else in between. And we're going to try to do that. Now, we're going to segmentize and learn through some of that beta and experience, but we're not just going to make one wine. We want to make a lot of great wines because that's what we want to drink, and that's what we want the people that hang out with us to drink is different great wines. I just love when the good shit lives up to the hype, and this is fucking dynamite.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would go, if you send a picture of that to your friend that collects this shit, he'd go, oh, wait 10 more years, and you're going like, go fuck yourself, this is amazing. But a lot of times, some of them aren't, and this is good out the gate, and it's really nice.
Well, that was my biggest conundrum. But actually, when I was buying this, I was with the guy at Test, and he was like, I'm like, look, I know it needs to be properly developed and all this. He's like, well, this is one that's actually has
Ready to
really
drink.
interesting spice and fruit at the beginning.
Yep.
But what I think is interesting from like a Vint point of view, and I've talked to a lot of producers who are like, and we talked to like Laurent Ponceau, and they're like, we want people to drink our wines. And sure, well, you can drink some of these wines young, but some of them do develop, and there's always going to be that secondary market. So what we're trying to do is introduce people to brands like these through Vint. Maybe for DRC is exclusive for like you're not gonna most people won't be drinking DRC, but you can own we had a collection that was $25 a share to own a part of three DRC RC bottles, 2010.
Exposure to it at least.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like what's interesting is you can have that bit of experience or that exposure, and that's what we're trying to explain to like some winemakers. Like when I was in Bordeaux, they were like, "We love that you are introducing our wines to people that probably can't afford them right now, or maybe they've never heard of us, they've never heard of Bordeaux." And then down the line, as they work with Vint, hopefully based on historical precedent, we might be able to provide some returns sometime down the line. They might be able someday to be like, cool, I will go buy my bottle of Bordeaux or maybe my bottle of
I think you do that in most things. Like now, again, I go to the one investment I'm in, it's called Dibs, and that's trading cards. And you can own a portion of a trading card. Now, whether that's Pokemon, soccer, golf, basketball, football, baseball, you can see, like when John Morant won Rookie of the Year, his card shot up.
Up into the right. Yeah.
But it came down when he got hurt at the beginning of the year. So people started buying. So again, for like wine, you're like, man, was this an off year? But then you go, let me do a little research. I think I want to invest in this because their quality, this brand, this producer, this is something that I've researched. And, people who are in the wine space are giving me good educational tips on this. So let me put my $50 here. Oh man, now that year has turned out to be like a 2015, 2019, 2009, 1983.
And most of the famous producers only go like this in value.
Right.
Right?
It's
Unless
crazy.
you're getting to like 100 years,
blue
right?
chip, like
Yeah.
Blue chip, right,
If
and
you
so-
can invest in it and it has the ability to grow, that value goes up. It's just as simple.
and
as
off vintage for deer, like it doesn't play as much of a factor.
Yeah,
The top producers, right? Like
well, it's because they do all the work, and then that's the best Grand Cru sites tend to have the oldest vines and the most unique terroir. And the reason the terroir is valued is because in bad years, the wines still perform well, and that's why they were considered Grand Cru in the first place.
It's like Channing, he always performed on shitty teams or good teams. It's just,
I don't know. I was pretty bad on bad teams.
But what I will,
I was lying. I was lying too.
You want to throw yourself under the bus.
yeah, but
Yeah,
what-
yeah. I
Having
was
Steve
pretty
Nash
bad.
around helps,
Ooh, that was the best. Him and Braun. Those are the days.
the problem with these is they are so good and they're
sucked
they're
up
recognized. So then there are markets like, as the world expands, Bordeaux is very popular in the Asian markets right now, but now they're discovering Pinot Noir too. And I think it's kind of like that cultural shift to like what we were talking about earlier.
Go get that
understanding the
chosen
wine.
family. You
Yeah.
DRC collectors, let's go.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, but
Have
instead of-
access to our first
can't-
vintages ever.
invest in this, like drink the chosen on
Well, that's what I was
Tuesdays.
trying
Yeah,
to say. It's
absolutely.
like-
But
Yeah.
I just sorry to interrupt, but I think we don't have a chance to get in at the bottom floor of a lot of really good producers and people who are in it for the long haul. We are in this for the long haul. This is not sports. This is Channing after he's done something he's trying to do for lineage. Same with Jake. We're trying to do this till we're in the grave, and hopefully I pass this on to my children, who pass this on to their children. We're always part of that chosen family. And I think there's a quality of wine that we're trying to produce always from across this country and maybe the world that we're trying to do it our way. We're different than the old school people. We pay homage to them. We look up to them, but we are on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We have to
We're
use those
documenting our
channels.
journey, for sure.
We are documenting our journey, and you're seeing it from the bottom up. And so I think people who want to get in from there and be like, I remember I have their first bottle. If you had a chance to have a Burgundy first bottle, you would do it. I would do it. I'm like, dude, what do you need? Let me support you. Because you're part of our community.
I think you're absolutely correct. And I think one of the things is we would simply just say we're making wines that are ageable, that are incredibly well made by great winemakers from great sites with great barrels, all the hallmarks of making a great wine. And when you make a great wine, sure, you can drink it young, but also they should improve with time and have different characteristics. But then if you broaden that to what Chosen Family hopefully can do as a brand and as a business for the industry, I think over time, someone that does collect, pay attention, and watches our journey, I think we're going to do some things. I think we're going to have a little hallmark in this industry because of the few categories we're playing in and how we're going about it and the change culturally we hope to impact across the board. from a product standpoint, a brand standpoint, also bringing people of color into the wine industry, fighting for people, getting in the nonprofit space. Like, we're not just doing this to just make a little wine that we can drink ourselves. That makes us happy, and we'll always keep that mind frame to make great wines. But we're literally trying to make a positive impact on the wine industry that we love so much, but it needs to grow into the future. So I think we're going to be stoked we have a couple cases of this down the road, right? And I think we're going to be leaning on you guys to put it in the right hands and stuff. But if you're watching this and you want to collect DRC, not that we'll ever be DRC, but we're getting fruit from great sites across Oregon and California that are hallmarked and known well. So if we only have 100 cases of them, 80 cases of them, 200 cases of them, these are little unicorns down the road. So I think that we're barking up the right tree. I think we're telling the right story without having to say you have to collect Chosen Family. We're just trying to sell it and share it, right? But over time, there will be people that go, oh, I got a case of each of those. And they had the first salty goats ever. And then they got a 19 Longlow Estate, just 4 barrels reserve wine that they got to make with Chase Renton. They went to Lingua Franca and made Chardonnay with Thomas, who worked at DRC and Dujac. And then we get to make a barrel select with him. Like, we're not fucking around.
If
we're doing it in a fun way.
You do things consistently well for long enough over like enough time, and in this industry,
again, I can't
that
mess
always
up.
pays.
I can't give you a bad vintage. Like, we didn't come out with red wine in 2020. I can't take a chance on
Well,
that.
from here. We did from
From
Sonoma
here.
Coast, from Oregon.
Yes, sorry, from here. Yeah. But like,
Well, that was the year of the fires and stuff.
yeah, exactly. But I'm saying I can't, as the founder, I can't, because I'm the face, take chances on things that aren't elite, high quality, because then I miss out on the consumer's aha moment.
Something I was listening to recently was a person from Barolo, like Piemonte, talking about their wines back in the day. And they were like, we've made wines for a really long time and our place is really special. But only in the 60s did they start trying to actually make serious, like Barolo and stuff, to export to the world. And I kind of feel like they picked the best vineyards and stuff. And it's almost kind of like the Chosen Way. They were just kind of like trying to pick the best vineyards around. They were making wine that they thought was really good. And now the lady was like, the person being interviewed was like, I can't, like, it's amazing what the prices our Barolos and our Piemontes are getting out in the world right now. We're just trying to make good wines for years.
Well, they don't even release them for 5 years when they make them.
And it's weird that people just discover them, though, and all of a sudden they're like...
Well, Italy sells more wine than they actually sell more wine outside of Italy than they actually sell inside of Italy. So they make wine for the world.
Certain producers, and then the opposite is of the smaller producers, they don't get it outside of Italy. So it's kind of the juxtaposition of like, are we trying to distribute for the world, or are we just putting it on our friends and families' dinner tables?
Well, this is folks who just put their head down and farm grapes.
Well, a lot of it's just farmers. I grew up here, and the only
Exactly.
thing we farm here is grapes, so I
Like,
become a winemaker.
now everyone loves this, and this is just what we were doing. It's not like we went out to say,
Welcome to our family.
okay,
Which
like,
is
let's
the
make a cult
truest
wine.
expression of it, and
Yeah.
let me find that guy.
And some of those shits are amazing.
Let me find that guy, because then I want to just say, give me 100 cases, let me tell your story.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, I'll pay you for these 100 cases, let me tell your story. Like, those type of artists, whether that's art, music, an athlete, any of those things, where if you're doing it at a high level with your head down, trying to be real and authentic to your true self, let us use my platform, especially in the wine industry. Let me use my platform to tell people about you. You deserve to be loved on. You deserve to be known and to be, I don't want to admonished, maybe the word, elevated. Because you know what? And what do you say? When the tide rises, all boats rise. Right? Is that what they say?
Yeah. Something like that.
High tide raises all boats.
High tide raises all boats. And that's why, for me, being able to work with Longolo, Hazelfern, Granville, Salty Goats, Lingua Franca, these things is like the best, because I was already fans. If you look at my locker right there, there's all of them in there. Probably too much of all of them, but all of them are in there because I cannot wait to share them with our friends, because they're so unique and they're so, like, if I had a wine or like an art collection, I would do the same thing.
Come in
Like,
here and look at this.
Look at this. Look at this guy. He does watercolors. He does clay. He does metal. But all of them are true to like what their form is, and you love it and you respect it. Nobody drinks the same wine all the time. That's disgusting. No offense. That's disgusting.
I do think that's what makes this day and age one of the best times ever for wine too. Is we have a German collection now too, and like I don't think people know enough about
little
how
Riesling.
Oh wow, really good Riesling, and I don't think people know enough
A little
about
Bitburger.
really good Schwarzwaffer. But it's
I just made up a thing.
Schwarzwaffer, but no, it's Egon Muller. But Egon Muller is literally like
Mueller's the big time.
yeah, and he's
No, it's
wild.
all
And but what I'm saying is like the global, like the internet has allowed people to learn more and more about these different like
Yeah.
small
Information
regions
age,
that they
bro,
would
the
never
information
have.
age.
And what I think is cool is it allows a place like the Willamette to get actually become on the global stage sooner than it would otherwise. 'Cause it
Wine
would take-
Spectator Digest gave the Willamette Valley the #1 wine growing region in the world globally recently, like 3 or 4 years ago.
And what's
Did
in
I?
it for Wine Spectator to do that? I mean, this is really,
No, but it's true. I mean, the
No,
quality
I'm just saying,
that's
but
coming
like
out of
that's
there.
like evidence that they're
Oregon.
really.
I grew up in California, and that's the state above us. I didn't even know where Oregon was growing up. It's like the fact that it's blown up on a national
Well, that's what I'm
stage
saying.
from
So like
wine.
back in the day, it took Napa a weird tasting in Paris that compared it to Bordeaux and where they beat it to get on the map. Now we're able to learn a little bit more about the Willamette and push it out there. And I think something like that really helps and expedites.
I love the Willamette Valley, man. I mean, just the stories, the humility, the
camaraderie.
camaraderie,
beautiful,
the
too.
authenticity. Yeah, God, it's just like you go out
Yeah,
there.
we said we're coming out to you guys, and you were like, "Oh, here's 12, like 10, how many, 10, 12 producers."
and we were
We're
just
like, "Oh,
being
go see
nice,
them."
where you only got so much time.
Exactly, yeah.
But like we've been doing this for 15 years. I'm 38, right? So when I moved here, I'm from Arizona, right? What? We got tequila and Coronas and burritos, right?
And
Which
Scorpions.
are fire, by the way. Right? Slurpees from Circle K. But dude, like, I didn't know anything about wine. I came here. You don't have self-service. You get on the bus or you take your little car with your friends, 45 minutes that way, and you're like, what is this world that exists? And then you're like, oh, another 30 minutes, you're at the coast. And then you realize where you're at and how unique it is. And then the more you learn about it, the more you realize, like, when you live here in the Northwest, this is part of you and your community. This is not like, oh, I'm going to Napa. Like, Napa is different than San Francisco. You got to drive an hour, and then there's 15 different cities. There's 3 cities: Tualatin, Newburgh, wine country. Literally. There's 2
And by
little
cities,
cities.
they're-
No, Tualatin is tiny.
Yeah,
Tualatin
it's not like
got
you have
them,
Oakland in
like,
between,
yeah, no.
no.
This is just like, and so the people's stories are so unique and awesome, and everybody appreciates the support. And then when you go to like Longolo, what he's built at Longolo, it's like you bring your kids, you bring your friends and family, you put a picnic blanket down, you drink some of the best wine you've ever had in your life, you eat a little cheese plate, and you enjoy your day. You go home fulfilled in your soul. It's been good. It's been good.
Yeah, me and
being out
Cham,
here.
both of us aren't from here. We met each other here 15 years ago. But like when people go like, what, wow, Oregon, Portland, like what's there? And it's like, I have a lot of answers, and the quality of life is a big one, and I'm a West Coast guy, but like the wine, the food, the community, the ability to live such a high level of life and share things that we love, but like have access to it, and it's not overrun, bastardized, like it's still like in its infancy in a way, is like it's
Like the people
inspiring.
that are here have been here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Oregonian's been doing it, but like the world's just catching, and we're just starting to help be a part of it, right? And it's a special time to be here, and it's a special place to
So,
be.
how like I tried to talk about this a little bit earlier, the Chardonnay, but how do you guys introduce people who don't drink wine at all or find it intimidating? Like, what's that first conversation to like, you guys should try wine, and they're like,
What if they drink beer or cider or like
or they just
I
don't
drink
think
beer
they
and
can-
cider too.
Yeah, me too.
only exclusively?
Okay, so what kind of beer and cider do you drink? Because guess what? I have my own beer. I love cider, right? What do you want?
Well, I'm just
I
saying, like,
want you to
so-
be happy. No. I think that's where it comes
But
from.
maybe they're intimidated about it, and they're like, all right, I want to try wine. I don't even know where to start. It's just too intimidating. I'm just going to stick to what I know.
But I think that's what we're doing. We're not that intimidating.
Right, that's what
So-
I'm saying. So how do you guys like approach
How do
that?
we do
Well,
it
I
in our
think-
personal life? How do you do it, Jake?
But you humanize it, right? Like you be willing to share information, product, place, story. You make it feel real, right? And it's like, so that's what a lot of people have problems with bottles like this, is like, how do you humanize a $1,200 bottle of wine? How do you make someone want that? But so there's two, so with your own personal friends, that's one thing. And then there's also the ability to get someone into a space of yours that you share wine, right? So if you have a retail space, if you have a tasting room, that job's a little easier, I think, to introduce people to wine if they're not into it, because they're in a vineyard, they have a view, there's wine there. They have nothing to do other than hang out and listen and learn. And then if you make that fun for them, they can get turned on to it. And I think wine for a long time, what the wine industry was getting wrong was people were traveling, or like your friends took you wine tasting. You're like, okay, I'm just gonna hang out with my friends today. I don't really want to go wine tasting. I don't really like wine. You're the guy that says, I just drink beer. I don't like wine. Then you get there, and the first place you get, it's a $30 tasting flight. You don't know which wines you like. And then they start talking soil science, vintage, pH levels. And then they tell you it tastes like burnt tires and raspberry phenolics. And you're like, what is that? And so if you don't taste that, you think you don't understand wine, you have a bad palate, so now why would I spend money on that thing? And for me, I'm gonna wear J's, listen to the music I want to, and just because I love great wines doesn't mean I have to be an asshole about it, right? So it's how do we share this thing? How do we teach people about something to make it feel real where they can resonate with it? And I think that's our job. That's the generation we're in, is if we want this thing to sustain and grow. Golf was dying. Country clubs are old people that are assholes that don't want you to listen to music when you play golf, dress a certain way just because you're playing a game. I don't know. I'm a great golfer. I don't subscribe to all that. So we're going to change that over time. And then the pandemic.
He's a scratch golfer. So
and the pandemic got people
golfer.
going, I want to play a lot of golf. Wine, same way. I used to go wine tasting with Chan and our friends. We'd go to a place. They'd tell us some bullshit. We'd host ourselves. And we didn't have enough information to make it fun. But this thing had to shift at some point. We needed to make it approachable.
Preface that. We came in hot. We came in hot. I just think, but we enjoyed the wine. We came in hot like, listen, we're not there yet. You putting your, stuffing people's great day with opportunity just doesn't, you stuffing information on somebody's face when they just want to sit and drink and enjoy the wine is more important than you being like, hey, that's Joy soil. Joy soil, the gravel, cement, sand from the Maldives. It doesn't matter. I'm drinking this thing.
If you want to get there, get there. But and you say this a lot now because you've experienced it. No one's wrong. This is a subjective fucking game. So your palate's different than my palate. Our expression of what turns us on is different. The things we're looking for, and what's your mood? I used to be in the movie business. I made a movie. You watch that movie 100 times, you have 100 different experiences. Was I in a bad mood that day? A good day? Bottle of wine. How was my day? Who are you drinking it with? What food is it with? Who are you sharing it with, right? But this thing that we're falling in love with is really a platform and a connector to like on our bottle of wine, we say chosen family for us is friendship's our foundation, passion is our purpose, and wine is our connector. Wine to me is the ultimate connector as we get older because great food and great conversation is literally the only thing I'm seeking out at this stage in the most part. That's my party. And so we want to bring people with us, and to be able to do that, you have to be able to connect this bottle of wine to the people that you're sharing it with. And Chan's great at that. He loved, and that's one of the things he found when they won this championship is, I would find a bottle of wine that, this year, this is when you graduated college, or you traveled, or this thing happened, or you won the MVP. Oh, you went to Napa for your honeymoon. I bought you a bottle from your favorite vineyard that you went to. Oh, you've never had Oregon Pinot, but this is my favorite site that I had it because I know Jake and Chase, right? Like this thing needs to become real for people. Yeah. Then we need to share the beautiful part and the human part of it, not just the cliff notes and the tasting notes. Yeah. This wine is not meant to be told to someone what you're supposed to experience. You're just supposed to help them have the best experience possible. And I think that's what this game's about.
And I think it can be boiled down to kind of speaking a common language. Trust is the trust in what I'm showing you and what we're doing in Vint 2. And then the same thing is the transparency. It's like, I trust you because, I'm just telling you exactly what it is. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you in terms that you understand, and we're just going to give you the best things possible.
We also don't make one varietal. And like I said, again, on Easter, it's not the first time I open up 8 to 10 bottles. I don't get wine just for me. I like wine. I love wine, right? I try to drink it as much as possible while being healthy. So but when you want to start that journey, come down here with me. We're going in my locker. You want to try Walla Walla Syrah? Red Mountain, bow. Here's Northern Rhone, boom, 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 boom. I want to open these up for you to show you the value is in what you like. Not so much, I like this a lot. Let's put this here. Let's do this. I like that. Let's do this. Let's do that.
You always, in the midst of that, tell them they're not wrong.
They're not
They'll
wrong.
go, well, I don't get it, or do I taste this? You're like, who cares? What do you taste? Tell me.
Right. If somebody's like, well, this is
You
my
always
favorite
tell people
bottle,
all the time.
and if you don't like it, it's going to hurt my feelings. I'm like,
No.
the unselfish act of me who has spent hard-earned money to find these things for you to enjoy tonight is worth it all. I would open up 50 bottles for you
To figure out what you love and
this
why.
night and come on this journey with me because I love it that much. Pop, 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 pop. Let's go. And if you like the one that's 20 more than the one that's 2,000,
Beautiful.
I don't care. The rest of them could go to somebody else. It's all it's
showed you
about.
all of them.
It's the most
a learning
unselfish thing
It's a
because I'm
human
thinking of
experience.
you and me and you and our time is what's most important. If you're not happy and if you hate all these wines, guess what? I got a cider in here for you, and I'm gonna be disappointed. I'm gonna cry on the inside.
10 years later, they're like, man, remember when we opened 20 bottles? Remember that one I hated? We gotta go find that again because I
Yes.
think, and then you come
And
back
that's the
and it's a
funky
whole nother.
Syrah
Yeah,
from the
exactly.
rocks, and now everyone's on the rocks now.
And I know we're wrapping up here. Is there anything that we missed or anyone wants to say to make sure that we get the message across of why we're here and what we're doing together?
I think it's just the goal of making wine more accessible to everyone, whether it be through education, investment, great bottles, affordable bottles, and then I was trying to point to your guys' wines too, whether it be great bottles that are both, within normal price points or within, $1,000 price points. I think that's the key thing. It's just accessibility, trust, common language, and just trying to find common ground to open wine up to everybody.
Without
around
a
the world.
doubt. Vint is amazing. I think you guys are on top of it. We wouldn't have done this if we didn't believe in what you guys are doing. And I think that's another avenue for people to get into this and learn and grow and, quote unquote, have some skin in the game. But at a point where they go, well, I'm just going to, let me put a little $50 on this. And then let me watch it. Oh, crap. I'm learning more. Let me go to a store now that I know a little bit more. Now I'm weaponized to go into the wine store and get exactly what I want. Lamb chops, Northern Rhone Syrah.
Right.
Oh, salmon, Oregon Chardonnay or Pinot. Right? A little white pasta salad.
And now I know why you guys
Right.
chose this collection because, man, I've had it.
Right, if I've had it.
exactly.
Exactly.
I think we're building the bridges to the wine industry in different capacities. And the wine industry, if you run a vineyard and your head's in the mud farming, trying to brand, market, sell, you can just get lost in your own little acreage, right? But like us, we have our heads up. We're here to take this thing into the future. And I think we're all doing important things that are paralleling each other. And we found each other to help support each other. And a lot of times in wine, everyone wants to just take care of themselves, be a little selfish, and prove they're the best. We're here to show off and promote and be a part of everyone that cares and wants to make a difference in just any way possible that's positive. Like, this is literally just an amazing, it's a luxury good that we get to share with people, and we can make it more than that or not, but like, to tell people they're wrong when they spend their hard-earned money on a product that people have curated, it's like, come on, guys. We
That
just
ain't
love
the
this
move.
shit. Let's share it. Let's have fun doing it. You guys do great at what you do. We're gonna try to do great at what we're doing. Let's have the media space step up their game. Like, we're all here to try to push wine into the future. You know what I mean?
Thanks
Cheers
for
to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Oh.
boys.
Yeah, cheers.
Welcome to Oregon.
Yeah.
Dude, thank
Good
you.
to be with you, big fella.